Hello all, Xyceres here. Today we're doing another base tour. I'm going to have to speed these up. There's going to have to be a few more in the next week or so because otherwise I'm never actually going to get these done because I'm mastering outposts, even with the current issues with the matchmaking, faster than I'm making these videos. So you can expect a few more of these coming out so I can actually catch up to what I've already done. So this is Powhatan Point. It is my first outpost that I made after the launch of the game. You can see it down here. It's hard to see from the picture, but it is a giant snake, but we'll get to that in a sec. It is a Suits Advisor, Dangerous Medium, I believe, or Brutal Medium. It has 9,000 gen mats, 63 raids, 4.2 kill ratio, and accolades down here adds up to 83, so about a 1.32 accolade ratio, which means it's the first one that actually met my goal of 1, and that's pretty good. Anyway, I will quickly run it, and then we will go through the actual tour. Okay, welcome back. Let's do the actual tour now. Yeah, so it's a little bit different for the actual run there. But, yeah, we've got this bunker here. We'll start with this. This is one of the first things I think I made on the base. This bunker with the second wave holo cube with just all of these guys in it. This was made on day 1, a few hours into the actual release of the game, so people hadn't quite worked out that the second wave could be used to block guards in their guard path, and then you could make second wave guards effectively. So I got a lot more ingenious accolades than I think I would get now if I was to do the same thing. Because this was just one of the early bases that did this shenanigan here. These Plasma Sentinels were a very late addition. They were literally just, I had some extra capacity. They weren't doing anything, so I didn't add more of them as I got more capacity. I just stopped adding things because I'd run out of things to add. But as you can see, this is Giant Snake. You get yellow and white bands as it goes around, as it coils around. It got like the head here, which you go in after running up its tongue, some eyes, and then it like goes back here, curls round, and back up here, and then you the gen mats around here in the tail. And then obviously you have to coil the back around. The whole like aim of this base, it was supposed to be fairly easy to get into, but fairly easy to get out because it's, you know, fairly easy to get eaten by a snake, not easy to come out of a snake alive. Anyway, yeah, so this here, just simple, you know, sometimes people will freak out when they see an open room and back up and get caught by that, not particularly common. You'll see here the outlines of the first few of the enforcers. There's, I believe, 5 groups of 4 enforcers. All the second wave stuff at the actual gen mat is all there to try and delay them long enough that these can get into place. But even in that run that I just did, they don't get there fast enough. It's the problem with having them run down the whole snake. In here, we've got just some bomb traps on the roof here. I used to have a hollow cube about here to try and hide them, but it was really obvious that there was a trap there anyway because of the hollow cube, so I just kind of gave up on that and just left it like this. The red of the mouth is all... Yeah, I made the mouth entirely red except for this white bit up here because that just needs to be white so that the traps can actually be there. Got these little things are acting as the fangs of the snake, so you can kind of see them from the mouth, they're little fangs. I don't think this is the best way to do it. I think I should probably open up this section so that the mouth is a little bit more open. You could probably do a better snake head than what I've done here, but I do like these as the fangs. And just a little bit of blood on the end, just so that it looks like they've bitten something recently. As we go further in, we go from this like red of the mouth, just thinking like tongue, mouth, the inside of mouth, flesh type thing. It's normally a more pinky color, so that's why I made this all red. But as you go in, it becomes more of a white. And the floor remains red. And the edges almost always have this blood splatter. I did leave a few blanks so that I could bluff that there's traps there later. Here's the second set of the enforcers. Just a simple trap setup. It's basically never caught anyone. But it's all about just trying to delay them as much as possible. Here's the second set of enforcers, third set of enforcers, fourth set of enforcers, and the fifth set of enforcers is here. And just a few second wave trap setups with just bolt shots and impalers at angles so that you can't see them. Sometimes people get caught by them. It's not super common because this is a brutal base and people playing brutal are normally fairly competent. They normally know what they're doing, so these simple traps don't normally work on them quite as effectively as you might on a, say, normal or maybe even a dangerous. This is something that's super weird to me. So this bomb trap into impaler into 1 or 2 pistons. So the idea is that if you don't check up, the bomb trap triggers, you step on this, you step backwards, and then the bombs still kill you. If you trigger this and decide to keep going forward, you get killed by the pistons normally. If you freak out and stand here, you get killed by the impaler, but that doesn't normally happen. So this setup doesn't work here. These 4 traps get basically no kills. But these 4 traps, which is basically the same setup, get tons of kills. These 3 traps, it's got 1 less piston because I needed more pistons on the second wave. Yep, these traps basically get a ton of kills. If anyone dies on the way in, it's probably this. And despite being basically identical to this, it makes no sense. I do not know why this trap setup is so much more efficient than this trap setup at killing people. Despite the fact it's the second copy of that trap pattern. And also it's basically identical except for this corner, I guess. But like, that should mean that less bombs go around. I don't get it. I do not understand how that has happened. And the reason this one's slightly shorter is I timed it, and if you run straight out, this is where you get to, just by like normal grapple speed. And before second wave activates, and I just wanted to have this here to potentially catch someone. They can't get out in time. The best you can do is get into that long hallway with the bomb at the end, which I'll go back to in a sec. Yeah, so just a bunch of traps. This is all to slow people down so that the warmongers have time to get in place. And then this here, this is a bolt shot, not second wave, pointed at the thing. It just gives it time to activate. I think it has Hunter. It does, yeah. It has Hunter so that if they don't back up far enough down here, they can still get hit. But you're about here, you should be fine, but here, you'll die. Which can be useful because some people will move forward and not realize the activation until about here, and then start moving back, and you do catch people with that sometimes. But the bigger thing is people tunnel visioning on the gen mat, just running in and grabbing it. You get, even on brutal, you get a surprising number of kills with this. I find it generally worth the investment, considering it's what, 65 capacity, and even if you just get like 2 or 3 kills with it over the core life of a outpost, it's pretty good, and it gets a lot more than that. Yeah, anyway, these get no kills. These are just to delay people so that the warmongers can get in place. The warmongers are split up because I used to have them run all of them run up to here. They never ran to the tail because the moment I put in these pistons, they started dying to it, and it was not worth. It wasn't worth it. So I just always had them run to about here. They used to all pile up, and there used to be like 20 of them here, but there seems to be some limitations on number of attacks. There's some testing I know that's going on at the moment into potentially seeing how many, if more than like 2 of the same type of guard can even attack at the same time. So like spamming them like this might actually be a problem, although when you get down to like 4 like this, it's not as bad, although they do get stuck on each other's corpses sometimes. Anyway, yeah, so this was to counter grenades. Because when all 20 of them were in one spot, one grenade killed all of them. That was a problem because everyone had grenades. This slot here typically gets grenaded, but you'll notice if you can only carry it by grenades, so if you are relying on grenades to kill these, you can only get to here. It's part of the reason they did this with dual gun instead of with the dual sword, was because the warmongers are actually quite difficult when you're in a 1x1 corridor like this with dual sword, because you have to like kind of get them to spread out a little bit, which can be quite difficult. Anyway, yeah, so we split them up, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I then run out of space for warmonger packs, because they needed a little bit of a gap between them. So I left some of them up here in this chamber, which, honestly, they normally just die to bombs. But, this here was a thing. Originally, I had set this up because I thought the warmongers might be a bit too dangerous, so I wanted to, like having 20 warmongers in one spot might be too dangerous, but it turned out to be too easy, which is why they split up and actually removed the threat of this, because I had it originally timed that you could get to here, just speed running straight back through, and that would trigger the bombs, and the bombs would hit the warmongers, and the warmongers would all die, and that meant that you didn't need a gear item to do that. But I took that out because it became obvious to me that this was too easy. Like people with Bolt Lancer and gun were just shooting them and using the magnetic link to grab it back. people were using grenades and killing most of them like super quickly. There wasn't anywhere near as threatening as I thought it would be. So I just repurposed this into an actual trap by just putting in those delaying elements so that you can't get to here as quickly as you could before. This here is somewhat similar to the one that points at the gen mat. Some people tunnel vision on the exit, and they don't deal with the hunter bolt shot behind them, and it can hit pretty much anywhere in this room, provided the timing's right. If you're like right here, I think is the one spot it can't, but then you've run into this and these bomb traps, and yeah. This is just a pretty obvious impaler. Trying to force you to go backwards. A lot of the time, if you're speedrunning it, you can't. It's not super dangerous if you've got taken it slow. Yeah, so we've also got these. We've got the 2 grappling hooks here. Yeah, let's turn on the rangefinders. You note that they cross over here, which is directly below this bomb trap. The idea being you trigger this bomb trap as you run through, and this one too, actually. You trigger these bomb traps as you run through, if you're just like running through instead of actually trying to fight everything. And these 2 can hit you up to about here-ish. And I believe they're set up such that they will launch faster, and they pull you back a little bit, and that's enough to actually slow you down so you get caught by these bombs, despite the fact they're not actually pushing this way. Which can be quite useful. These impalers are just, I had extra points impalers. The floor here is all metal. I don't know why they're on the sides here, as this is already brutal. Legitimately could have put them straight down the center and it would have been fine. They do often get blown up by bombs, because everything anywhere near this gets blown up by bombs. There are so many bombs that go off here. I think this has chaos bombs in order to try and stop... No, this has Eagle Eye. I think if I put chaos bombs on this, it starts blowing up this, because they send out the bombs with more force, and they hit this with more force, which ends up pushing them further back here, which blows up these 2 more consistently, whereas they still do occasionally blow up, but it's nowhere near as consistent as it was with the chaos bombs. And I don't want these blown up. It's kind of frustrating. I think I tried that as a slope block and it didn't work either. I don't remember 100% on that. But yeah, that's Powhatan Point. Oh yeah, and the tombs are marked there, and just over the back of the thing. It's back here somewhere. I don't think there's any traps pointed at them on this one. I figured if someone was to get frustrated with this, at least they can get the tombs. And these plasma sentinels, I think, got Eagle Eye. Yeah, Eagle Eye second wave. And all the warmongers. Attack rate. Reflex manipulation for attack rate and armored. Because warmongers without armored are very niche. You can make use of them, but it's nowhere near as strong as armored most of the time. Anyway, this is Snecko base. This is what my snake base looks like. It is up on social and will remain up on social for the foreseeable future. If it's ever taken off social, I'll take it out of the description. I'll mention it in the description of the video. But yeah, this is simple, just like artistic design with like some form of gameplay element that I tried to add in that didn't work quite as well as I would have hoped. But gotta start somewhere, and this is where I started on Willy's. This was the first base I built. So next time I will be covering, I believe it's Harden next, and I will be doing, there will, as I mentioned at the start of the video, there will be more base tours coming out fairly quickly because I need to get through them so that I can actually be caught up, and I do want to have all my bases have it, or all my master bases have a base tour before Dreadshort comes out, which is late June. So that's going to be my focus for the foreseeable future. But until next time, actually, let's go over this for a sec. One last thing before we go. You see this ramp here, dropping down onto here. This is because warmongers can't walk here. They can't be pathed onto here because this is the edge of the map. So I needed some way to get them up into the snake, so they have to run up here and drop down. It's real dumb. If I put that like a little bit further back, or like actually known that that was going to be a problem, I would have done this differently. But yeah, just one last thing to take away, that you don't want it, you can't path your guards too close to the beyond like the edge of the map, even though the radar can run around this as much as they like. Anyway, until next time.